Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Sci-Fi Center Midnight Express Edition. Avatar only tonight because after long procrastinating, I am finally starting to physically move everything into position so that the next time we do a Sci-Fi Center stream from this location, which is my home office, it will actually look like a presentable place to stream. So right now I got everything unhooked. I got lights and stuff unhooked. I'm moving around power strips and plugs and moving around the desk area. Um, and I don't have any of the cameras properly hooked up. So you get my goofy avatar tonight instead of my ugly face. Some of you will praise that. So let's go say hi to the chat real quick. And how you doing, Daniel Martin? Azteca, what's going on? Do you think the Flash will have legs like Aquaman since it did better in Chinese market? It all depends on. I don't know when was the release date in China. I haven't looked at Box Office Mojo, but like I think it's going to do better in foreign markets for as long as it's out there because foreign markets don't have trolls that sit and hate to bury a movie. They just pretty much watch it and move on. But I don't know. I don't know how long it's going to stay on the theaters, though. I have my suspicions that they're going to get this movie, and their plan was from the get-go to get this movie a theatrical release, but to get it into platforms where every dollar they make, they get the majority of it, and that means PVOD, that means HBO, or Max, whatever you want to call it, and that means physical media. If you go in some places, you can already see where the ads for the steelbooks for the Flash are already out, so you can pre-order those, or you'll be able to pre-order those pretty soon. So who knows? It all depends on how long it stays in there. How you doing, Ray? What's going on? Jacob, how you doing? Uh, Hit like and subscribe if you like this stream or if you like the Point Extra Lounge. Pending Enosh's return, hopefully sometime soon here. You can go to my place, youtube.com/at Sci-Fi Center. Hit like and subscribe there if you already haven't as well. So let's see. Yeah, I think September 27th. And it's going to be on streaming probably sometime next month. But to be quite honest with you, people will say otherwise, but I still think that these movies that come out, and it's not just going to be about The Flash, and it's not going to be just about Warner Brothers. I think the sprint to get these movies on a format where they can reap the majority of the benefits is gonna be the way these movies go. I mean, you're gonna see some movies that you're gonna be shocked. It's like, damn, it's on streaming already, because the first 2 weeks they're gonna look at the first 2 weeks, and after that first 2 weeks, they're gonna try to get it on streaming. Not only because they want to make all of their money, but the longer they keep some of these movies on screens, they can't get their other movies on screens. You're lessening the exposure that other movies you have waiting are gonna have because a theater only has so many screens to play the big hits. But like I said, I think Flash will be on streaming relatively soon here. That may or may not hurt some box offices for some of these movies that are coming out, no matter what genre they are. But I truly believe that they are splitting the difference in between people who want to see all these movies on the big screen and get that theatrical experience and making money. All right, so see so going forward as a reboot. What's left is Snyderverse that will make it over the gun first. The Trinity is gone. Flash is gone. Aquaman gone. It's a reboot. It doesn't matter if it's a reboot. It's gonna fail. They know it's. I think they're starting to understand that you can't do a reboot without credibility. If people don't trust you, your reboot is like I explained the other day, aiming a 747 straight towards the ground and then expecting, like, right as you start to see the dirt, you can pull things up. People don't trust you. If you don't have trust and credibility, your reboot is going to fail, or it's going to underperform to meet your expectations. You have to have credibility to do a reboot, or no one's going to care. And when you talk about all these other iterations of Superman, Batman, Nolan, all these, the '90s stuff, all those ran their course. You got plenty of 90s Batman. You got Nolan's complete trilogy. So you got plenty of Christopher Reeve Supermans throughout the 80s. Probably one too many, two too many, in my opinion. So no one was left wanting. But when you do a disruptive reboot like this, the only evidence people have going forward is that you screwed up everything before. Time and money are a very important investment for people to make. So if I'm them, first of all, you see the effect that the term reboot had on current movies. It had an effect on The Flash. It's going to destroy Aquaman. It's going to obliterate Blue Beetle. So you guys might, anybody who wants any success going forward, you might want to come up with something different than the reboot word. It's done wonders so far. Somebody's going to need to smarten up eventually and finish something. Otherwise, once again, why would anybody in their right mind jump head first into your next thing when you never finished the other thing? So they're in a dilemma right now, and they've caused it themselves. All right, William Thought on The Flash director confirms that Nicolas Cage cameo on The Flash was actually shot in person, not CGI. I can believe it. I hope that doesn't lead to people wanting a Superman Lives movie. I mean, it was a cute little cameo thing, but everything I've seen and heard from it looks awful. So I don't know what the Flash Blu-ray will have, to be honest with you. All right, hold on. I'm out of the. Well, I jumped way ahead. Sorry. William Thought on Warner Brothers, Discovery, and talks to license some HBO shows to Netflix, including Insecure. I told people a year ago this was going to be the way of things. I think people polarized and aimed at the whole the sell Zack Snyder's Justice League stuff to Netflix to kind of like try to undermine what will eventually be the way of things for a lot of these studios. The studios can't produce everything. They can't fund everything. But they can still have these things as part of their circle, part of their IPs. You know, Sandman's a perfect example. But, you know, there will come a time to where, you know, certain things will not fit with whatever tone you're doing, and Netflix will be an outlet. So, no, I'm not surprised at all that that they're doing things. I expect to see it more often. Let's see. But this is a financial move which will still fall apart. HBO veterans reportedly pushed back at that. It's not going to matter. You know, old Hollywood could push back on an idea, the old way of doing things, but it's not going to matter. It is a necessity of moving forward, because, like I said, you only have so many resources to produce things, and if you produce something on Netflix, it is still yours. Sandman still belongs to Warner Brothers. It still belongs to DC, but there's an agreement in place. But like I said, you're gonna have a situation where Netflix, if somebody's going to come to them and say, "Hey, I want to produce this," the bosses at Warner Brothers will probably say, "You know what? You know, how about we just sell you the outright license?" Warner Brothers makes profit; they're in business, so it's not going to matter with who's pushing back on it. If their name's not David Zaslav, it ain't going to matter, and it's, you know. All right. Flash streaming soon is a win for me. I can't wait to watch this at my leisure with others. Yeah, I'm going to enjoy watching it on streaming as well. And like I said, the streaming platform, what it does is it gets the product directly to the consumer, and it cuts through the bullshit. It cuts through Rotten Tomatoes. It cuts through CinemaScore, which is I widened my my research on CinemaScore. Everybody's holding it up like it's the gospel. Some of those movies that they've given A and A minus, I could wipe my ass with, but I guess that's somebody's opinion. But here's the thing: somebody else's opinion versus my money's going to win out. I'm sorry. I've wasted enough money letting these outlets determine where I'm going to spend cash. All right, Jacob. Let's see. Make sure I'm not skipping anybody. Everybody's saying hi to each other. All right, shame HBO doesn't release their own shows on physical unless you are at Game of Thrones or Westworld. I want a collection of Forcray Raised by Wolves. Well, they do it for things that they think that'll sell. Game of Thrones sells tons of physical media. Even their Snyder stuff. I've seen it sell. I've missed out on things because it sold out. Westworld was a tough show, especially towards the end. There, it just wasn't very good. And Raised by Wolves, it's another even a harder IP for people to get behind. They told us they were going to pick and choose over the Snyderverse stuff for the Gunn first. I see nothing surviving except Gunn's wife. You don't know that. None of us are in those meetings. And if you think based on a box office is going to decide who Muschietti and Gunn decide to hold over, you guys are fooling yourselves. They're going to do whatever the hell they want. And that's just going to be it. If Andy Muschietti wants a certain group of characters or a certain character for his universe going forward, he's going to get it. If James Gunn wants a certain group of characters that he sees in his movies, he's going to get it. And I don't think that the box office is going to be the determiner of that. Once again, if the box office was a determining factor for every single decision, it should be for some, then James Gunn doesn't have a job. Because the only thing he's done for DC lost money. And people want to use the COVID reason, then that's fine. But other movies that were released around that time found a way to make money. His didn't. And his was released in August, whereas like Kong vs. Godzilla was released still within a pandemic, pre-vaccination. A lot less people were going to the cinemas during Kong vs. Godzilla, released by the same company with the same day and date HBO Max release, and yet Kong vs. Godzilla found a way to make its money. Suicide Squad released further down into the pandemic with a vaccine in circulation, with more people going to the cinemas, and it found a way to lose money. But yet James Gunn is ahead of DC, and that I'm fine with that. There is sometimes, even though I say follow the money and math always wins, there is sometimes that you have to take a look at a lot of analytical things that don't necessarily factor in a box office. If the Warner Brothers CEOs or heads thought that The Flash was an excellent movie, that at that point is when they made the decision to give Muschietti a Batman movie. So I don't think anything is over yet as far as that goes. It's going to be up to them. And I doubt that you're going to see Andy Muschietti removed. I know some people have said that, but Warner Brothers' history with directors right now, the last thing that they need to do is make a knee-jerk reaction and remove Muschietti. Muschietti put out a fantastic movie. I want to see him do more DC stuff. And once again, I don't think they're going to undermine him if he decides to pick some of these characters from these movies. And except Gunn's wife, I mean, Peacemaker's not even coming out till after what? Didn't he say after Superman Legacy? So I don't even know who's coming back for that. But don't think that these numbers. These guys have egos. They are going to think that they could do better than the people who greenlit these previous movies. So, like I said, I still think they're going to choose and port over things from the previous universe because I think they liked some of those characters. There's a really good movie within the Flash movie. I think the audience was turned away by CGI and Tom Felton. Listen, the CGI stuff, I sent 460 people to this movie, and we polled most of them. CGI wasn't the big issue that it was for the people in certain segments. I mean, people noticed some of the stuff. Like I knew people who saw the baby scene and some of the other scenes, but it wasn't a stopper for them. They didn't make as big a deal out of, like, if you look online, you think online that we were watching, Looney Tunes or something, if you were to just sit and look at a computer. But and I noticed some of it, but at the same time, like the baby scene, I was following what was going on in the baby scene, and maybe, like I said before, I'm old school. I came from a practical effects watching background, so anything is going to impress me. But I just didn't, I just didn't get that response. And the same thing with the whole Ezra Miller thing. Most of the people we polled barely knew who he was, other than the fact that he was the star of the movie. And the further you get away from the computer screen, the less people knew or cared about what was going on. The tone, I thought the tone was, I didn't get any complaints about the tone either. I mean, for the people, like I said, we monitored that got into the movie, they enjoyed it. I think some of the bigger factors are, and this is something and if you go back and watch our previous streams, and even go back when we were on panels doing with the Point Extra Lounge, once you threw out that word, that R word, you pretty much screwed yourself. Even if he does a selective alignment, like keeps some of the characters on, there are still characters that are going to be not there. Mainly Superman. So now you've basically given a bat signal that not only are these movies, for the most part, not worth their time, at least in the theater, you've given an even bigger signal that the time that they invested on these characters prior pretty much meant nothing. And I don't care what you're selling. Nobody wants to be told that their investment in time was wasted. Nobody. They may not be up in arms and do a hashtag movement or do a, do extreme crazy online people stuff, but they'll just walk away. And that's what Warner Brothers and DC has done and are kind of currently doing. They're just making it too easy to go on to something else. We'll scream and holler about it because that's what we do on YouTube. But the average person just looks at it and says, you know what? That's a mess. What's this over here? The average person is the bulk of your audience. I know we online like to think of ourselves as much, like we are the driving force behind commerce. We're not. The average person will never get into any of these weeds, but they know they haven't seen the Superman that they started off with for a really long time. And they hear, even if they're not terminating online, they're online enough to know that there's a new head and that there's another Superman movie coming, and it's not the guy from the last time. That's all they need to know to throw their hands up and move on. So that's unfortunate. I'm not. I don't know. I mean, he's decent. He's a good actor, but Brave and the Bold may as well be in the year 3000 for me. I'm not even going to start entertaining casting until this writer's strike is over, until whatever the Screen Actors Guild is done, because a good majority of these people will probably not be the people that end up in these roles. Honestly, all the normies who saw Flash said they had a blast, and the CGI wasn't even a problem for them. I really didn't care either. Like I said, it's somebody. Maybe I've just watched too many movies. It just didn't bother me, and I'm not saying it wasn't there. It wasn't an issue. It just didn't bother me. It didn't. I saw the Flash twice, and it just didn't stop things from me. The pace of it, which was to the point. The final battle scene. I'm pretty sure if I sat at home and dissected it, maybe I'll find something. But be honest with you, I'm out of that game. I'll dissect it when I have it on my screen at home, but when I'm going to the movies, I just don't, unless it's blatantly bad. For some people who are a harsher judge on CGI, but some people aren't. Some people, it ruined the movie for them. It was the end of the world. For some people, it wasn't at all. So, William thought on Chad Stahelski. I don't even know how to pronounce that. He talked about adding best stunts category to the Oscar. I think it's something that can happen as soon as the Oscars, at least one after that. I have no opinion. I think the Oscars are an out-of-touch waste of time. And this is coming from somebody who grew up adoring the Oscars. It's just becoming an out-of-touch waste of time. most of the movies that are nominated that they win. I'm not even. I used to watch all the Oscar nominated movies. Now I don't even waste my time because I just know they're gonna put some obscure shit on there that I just don't have the time for and don't have the heart to watch. All right, we cut out a big ballerina character called the Frau. Um, I mean, put it on the DVD. I'm not gonna go to the movies again to see that. William Thought on Universal on HBO. Not expect. Yeah, I've pretty much expected this for quite some time, and this is why I'm going. I'm hoping that. Listen, I don't go to a convention for movie trailers and those type of panels. I could care less about those. I can, instead of packing into a hall of people, with no space and sharing the same air post COVID, just not into it for me. But it has been the big thing at Comic-Con, and it is, to me, Hall H and what it brings and the congestion it brings. It to me it takes me out of the con. So this is why I have made the conscious decision that I'm going this year, because of all this is not going to be there. Even if one or two studios decide to not be there, that's going to make it a lot more easy to navigate, move around. More people that are actually wanting to go for actual Comic Con stuff can actually get in, maybe. So who knows? But yeah, I've known that that's going to be the case for a while, ever since the writer's strike started, and that's where I made my decision that I'm going to be going this year. But I thought on Marvel Studios reported set to skip Hall H this year at San Diego Comic-Con. Every studio will indeed be making a present at the Vince convention floor. That's fine. A Hall H, them jamming up Hall H and all the people, the lines and all that. A lot of the stuff, like I said, you take away that Saturday's activities, a lot of people are. It's going to be a lot lighter as far as being able, traffic and everything else, panel stuff, line stuff. So, them being on the convention floor, they've been part of the convention floor for 30 some odd years, so that's not going to make any difference. Let's put money on William. No, is this Joe will make it to the Gun universe? I just don't care. I just don't. I just don't care if they do or not. I don't care enough to put money on it. But if what I am saying is, if Muschietti or Gunn wants some of those characters to come up, they're going to. And there's nothing about the Flash's box office that is going to stop them. Suicide Squad lost $21 million. John Cena's on got his own show with Suicide Squad supporting characters. So they make their decisions based on what they make their decisions on. And like I said, if box office, whether they were expectations or not, were a huge part of that decision making, then they would have held off on making these decisions to make James Gunn the head of DC Films and Muschietti officially announcing him. Because if they renounce that stuff, they're not going to renounce that James Gunn's the head of DC Films. Go ahead. It would be a disaster for them to not have Muschietti direct that now that they've announced him. Given their history of screwing with directors, it's not going to happen unless he moves on to something bigger. Certain directors are notably talented. I get a pass if they have a bomb. We all know this is because Snyder had a couple of bombs under his belt. Sucker Punch and Watchmen. Eventually, they say enough. No, because Denny Villeneuve has had several bombs. So, that's not it's a lot more goes into it than that. And if you look at Sucker Punch, and I mean, you also have to look at Dawn of the Dead. I mean, there's a whole bunch of body work, a body to that one, but that's not why Muschietti's going to get a pass. That's because he made a great movie, and they know that he can tell a story. That's why James Gunn got a pass for losing money on Suicide Squad. So a lot more factors go into that. And like I said, you use a whole bunch of directors. Like I said, one of my favorite directors has made box office disappointment. Blade Runner 2049 was a huge box office disappointment. He lost money on that movie. Did that stop him from getting Dune? Does that stop him from getting Dune Part 2? And he's had money, movies that, that have made a little bit of money, but not a lot. He doesn't bring, the cash bags in. But there's a little bit more to that. William thought on the last showrunner Craig Mazin considered casting Matthew McConaughey to play Joel when he was told Pedro Pascal was unavailable. I think Matthew McConaughey would have played the role just fine. Also, he said I never talked to Mahershala Ali. I did talk to Matthew Pedro, who was on our list from the start. Oh no, remove Andy Muschietti. The visual look of the Flash kept me away. You're in the mind. Like I said, I don't see you as being in the majority of that. Not any director can camera Batman make him look cool, but I could tell just from the first half of the Flash that I wanted him on the next DC project I can get to. Now, like I said, the people who didn't, lie in wait just basically to shit on the Flash for the most part, everybody, some people just had legitimate gripes about the movie, but the majority of the people that I know that saw it enjoyed it. Why does a Batman get a competent visual director if David Bold doesn't? Manny Muschietti is a competent. That's your opinion of what Manny Muschietti, but that's not the industry's opinion on him, and that's not a lot of people who've seen his movies' opinion on him. Well, I thought James Gunn said that they're close to picking Superman. Don't care. I don't care. That movie's 3 years away. I just don't care. He also says that once they make the choice, they'll show the footage to David Zaslav, who would trust in his vision. Once again, I have no comment on a movie that's not coming out 2.5 to 3 years from now, and whose future is automatically cast in doubt by the way things are being handled now. I'm not even going to get it. I mean, how excited should I get for Superman Legacy? I don't even know if I'm going to get a sequel. And I'm the kind of guy that buys into a universe. I'm not this. When you tell me that you're creating a universe, that's what I expect. So if I go into your universe and I can't trust you to complete it because the only thing you've done before is blow things up, I'm going to sit back here on HBO Max and or Max or whatever, and I'll wait for you there. That's what a lot of customers are going to say. So, no, when it comes to Superman Legacy news, I think I won't legit start caring about it until I see a trailer or I see some, set footage, stuff like that. But 2025, I'm thinking 2026 is when this is going to come out. Because 2025, September 2025 is when I think they're going to come out when there wasn't a writer strike and when there wasn't a pending SAG-AFTRA strike. So now we're 3 or 4 months into this. And if the actors go on strike, it's not going to matter if he has the film already written and scripted and all that. Even if he has it casted, the actors can't act if they're on strike. So this is going to be my stand going forward when it comes to any of the future DC films. I'm pretty sure Superman Legacy is going to be fun. I believe that James Gunn can put out a great story. I know Andy Muschietti can put out a great story for Batman Brave and the Bold. But given what I am sifting through now, the wreckage I'm sifting through now, the credibility problems that this reset or whatever the hell you want to call it is causing, I just don't care right now. I'll care when it's closer. I'll care when it's in front of me. I'll watch it, and if I like it, I'll reap. I will praise it from one mountain to the other. But right now, there's just too much going on that just makes me want to disengage from DC product right now. So the casting news does nothing for me. The ladies in my office do billing said how Ezra's a creep. They couldn't watch the movie because of him. So you got ladies in your office, and I got 460. And then I got the general audience that literally wouldn't know who he was unless he was actually wearing a Flash audience or Flash costume on the street. Not everybody sits and stares at a screen, and a lot of people don't. The average Joe doesn't give two shits about the trades. They consider those things to be snobby dirt sheets, and a lot of people don't even refer to them. Because, like I said, I'm in these circles all the time. I'm in and out of different circles, and most of the people didn't know about it, and the rest of them didn't care to the point. If Ezra Miller could have had all this stuff going on, and if all the other factors that hurt this movie, the bad management, the screwed up ending out of the 3 endings we should have got, and we ended up getting what I think ends up being the worst one, because Ezra Miller wasn't in Shazam, and it was the same effect. Ezra Miller wasn't in Black Adam, same effect. This isn't an Ezra Miller thing. This isn't a Flash thing. This is a DC thing. This is the direction that they've chosen to go and the consequences of it. Hi, Aaron. How are you doing? I have a face made for Avatar. Also, I approve of not seeing your face. There you go. Bad CGI is a distraction depending on how long it's on screen. I remember Neo versus multiple Smiths related damn near killed the movie. For me, I love that scene. That was one of my dude. That was when I got my projection screen. I played the shit out of that scene over and over and over again, and it didn't have any. I still watch it to this day. That the CGI on that screen did nothing to stop me from loving that scene. I love that movie. So everybody's different, though, you know. The Meg 2 is my new movie. I'm so looking forward to it. It'll be horrible. Yeah, that's the plan. Well, I thought on Russell Crowe says sequel films are lazy, but Ridley Scott has a great idea for Gladiator 2. For the most part, I mean, it depends on the sequel. I mean, like Independence Day Resurgence was lazy. But Blade Runner 2049 was epic. And Gladiator is being made by the guy who did Blade Runner 2049, or at least produced it. Then he directed it. It's also such a rich, interesting world. He's been thinking about it for a long time. He has a very sure and clear idea. Yeah, that's Ridley Scott. Daniel Martin, William, what do you see the future of Ezra? I thought they killed it and really carried the movie. Do you think Ezra can do other high-profile roles? Yeah. Dude, Kevin Spacey's coming back. I saw somewhere Kevin Spacey's starting to audition for roles and have some stuff coming out. Kevin Spacey. All right. Like I said, when it comes to these entertainers and these sports athletes, yes, even if everybody in the world knows about it, ultimately it's you got to probe your audience to see if they care about it. You know, the audience's connection to these characters and these athletes are not as deep. If I'm rooting for a football player, and most people are rooting for a football player, can he get the ball into the end zone? Can he get that ball into that hoop? Can he get that puck to the back of the net? That's their connection. What he's doing, unless he's literally incarcerated to the point where he cannot perform, general people, they'll tell you that, oh, that's awful. I'll never. Like I said, Deshaun Watson, over and over again, I'll tell you, 21 rape allegations, some of which he's still settling out of court. $238 million contract, guaranteed. People of Cleveland cheered the hell out of him. Are they right? Are they wrong? It's not our business. It's not our place to tell them that. They're the consumer. So don't assume, you know, and I'm not saying you're saying this, Dan, but people in general, don't assume that people have the same regard for these people's transgressions as the next guy does. If Kevin Spacey's ever on the big screen again, then I don't want to hear about Ezra Miller ever again. All right, William, did you see Zendaya, Josh O'Connor, and Mike Lester in the first trailer? I heard about the trailer. I haven't seen it. All right. Christopher Nolan says he showed Oppenheimer to a film emergency. He says it's kind of a horror movie. And he says, yeah, I heard about that. But, yeah, given the nature of the topic, dude, nuclear, it is a horror movie. It's a real-life horror movie. It's a real-life, the development of the Manhattan Project and the nuclear bomb is a real-life science fiction horror film. It actually gave birth. The atomic age gave birth to science fiction at that scale in the 50s. Godzilla, all those things. B movies, A movies. the invention of this device that this movie is about gave way to all the imagined horrors that we can think of. Aaron Pritchard, thoughts on Matt Stone and Trey Parker buying the Casa Bonita restaurant in Denver, Colorado? I haven't heard anything about that. I'm sorry. I'm not informed. Denny Villeneuve still falls under what I said about Snyder. If you show promise, they work with you. But if you can keep bombing something, same thing. People still use Michael Bay. What are you talking about? Michael Bay still does movies. I don't go see him, but he's not hurting for jobs. Yeah, I'm gonna be doing a special screening. I don't know if I'm going to the screening. I know we're gonna be doing screenings for it. So I don't know if there's gonna be any merchandise or anything, for that. So, but like I said, it's Oppenheimer is the first Nolan movie that I've anticipated that I actually want to go see, that I'm excited to see. Unless you're paying someone at DC, Jeebus, or at Warner Brothers, that's like you telling me the lottery numbers tomorrow. None of us have any whatever. I mean, why is James Gunn the head of DC? The Suicide Squad bombed. Suicide Squad lost the studio, what, 21 million if you pull it up? It bombed. So I think we got to we're not in the boardroom. I don't know how many times I've seen all of us speculate whether something's going to happen, something's alive or dead, based on what? You're not even in the same city as the boardroom. None of us know. So the Flash bombs, what does that mean for Andy Muschietti? And you're not going to employ Andy Muschietti in that role and then tell him what he can and can't do. He'll just walk. And if he walks, guess what? Your credibility as a studio, as you're trying to get these big name directors back, is going to be shot. They're begging Nolan to come back. You think all these directors are not looking at how they treat Muschietti in the face of the Flash? You think all these directors that ran away from Warner Brothers are not looking to see if the studio is going to meddle in them and have a knee-jerk reaction based on one result or another? You could be right, Jeebus, but you don't have any. None of us do. These guys have made decisions that I don't understand. So all we're doing right now is playing a guessing game. You could never see one of these characters again. I got a feeling that you're going to see at least Supergirl again, especially if Muschietti is moving forward with anything. I definitely think it, because I don't think Batman's going to be the only thing he does for them. So unless you could be right, but I have as much reason to believe you as I don't. It's just a guessing game at this point. And so far, these guys have done their thing, and it's not necessarily based on box office. Once again, if it were all about box office, but whether you want to agree with it should be or not, James Gunn doesn't even have a job. William Thornton, God, get out here to feature as Wonder Woman. Things are being worked behind the scenes. What's the moment in the right drives? You know about it? Don't know. Like I said, it's basically a rumor. Ray, definitely stoked for Oppenheimer. Yeah. All right, guys, it's at 41 minutes. I'm going to start winding it down so I can go ahead and start watching the Hulk. Not Hulk, I'm sorry. I got the Hulk on my mind. Ang Lee. Thought on Ang Lee reflects on. I didn't think his movie was that great, but hey, I'm glad he still looks on it fondly. Like I said, I hear that from people, but I also hear from people who didn't even bring it up. Didn't bother me. It didn't. When the time bubble scene happened, I wasn't sitting there analyzing the CGI. I was sitting there seeing who I could figure out who was what and what I could hear. I wasn't there with my magnifying glass or whatever, picking apart. The scene moves in such a way, for me personally, I know everybody else is different, that's not what I was focusing on. Same thing with the babies. I wasn't focusing on you know, that I was the scene was moving so fast for me that hold on for a second. Okay, cool. I was focusing on other things. Like I said, maybe that's the old school practical effect John Carpenter guy type stuff like I grew up with, but it just wasn't a stopper for this film goer. All right, let's see. Got to move around here. Let's go. Nobody got foreshadowing. Got the foreshadowing song young Barry's mother is listening to when they're dancing. Pedro Navaja by Ruben Blades. A. Pete the Blade. Let's see. Barbie's gonna win. Barbie's a big, huge brand name with decades of history behind it. Everybody knows Barbie. I know Barbie. I will not see this movie. I have no plans on seeing Barbie whatsoever. Free, paid, streaming by accident. I have zero interest in it, but I'm in a minority. There's a huge market. That Barbie's gonna make a lot of money, and it's a broad. It has broad appeal. Oppenheimer's not going to, even though Oppenheimer, I think Oppenheimer's going to be a better movie. Maybe. I have zero plans on seeing Blue Beetle in the theaters. There's a good chance it could. I mean, but at the same time, it's more than likely that Blue Beetle and Aquaman are going to be plagued by the same things that have plagued the last three movies that have come out. Black Adam, Shazam, and this movie. And it has, the thing it has going forward is, of all those characters, it's the least known of those characters. I think it might make a profit, but it ain't going to, but they didn't spend that much money on it either. So I'm going to go see Blue Beetle where they met Blue Beetle to be seen. And that's on on Max when it comes out. Even if we promote the movie, I'm not going to that screening. All right, which movie? Okay, let's see. I love the Kraven the Hunter trailer. That cat bites off somebody's nose and spits it at the camera. He had me there. That movie has all sorts of violence that I need to see. And it looks great, so I'm in. Yeah, but the general audience didn't say F Flash. The general audience said F Warner Brothers, F DC Films. Otherwise, it's the same. If all these other movies, if Black Adam and Shazam, Fury of the Gods had been released and didn't have similar results and you couldn't see a pattern, I would see it. If the Flash was the only movie out of those three that struggled, then I'd be like, you know what? Yeah, they said they zeroed in on Flash. There's a pattern developing here. And I don't think the pattern is going to stop with the Flash. Unfortunately, I think it's going to carry over to Blue Beetle, and unfortunately, I think it's going to carry over to Aquaman. And to be honest with you, there's no evidence that, people can guess and speculate all they want. There's no evidence that it's not going to carry over to the first few years of James Gunn's universe. People just don't trust DC films right now. They don't trust DC films not to waste their time. They don't trust DC films to finish the trip. They're used to being shoved out of the car midway to the finish line. And people just don't want to do that right now. Especially when you have other options to watch it on. Why risk your time and money on a DC film, on a film that, in their opinion, is not going anywhere, when you can watch it, on HBO Max? Why jump into the car again with a Superman Legacy immediately when all you've been shown is them, they just have a pattern of inconsistency, disruption, and incompletion. So, and I think that's definitely going to hurt Superman Legacy. And I agree with what John Campia said. They're just going to have to stick with it. They've made this decision. They're going to have to stick with it because I think Superman Legacy, and they're going to have to spend the money on it. I think Superman Legacy can lose them money because I don't think by the time Superman Legacy goes out, the credibility of Warner Brothers will be any better than it is right now because they have not shown their audience that they can start and finish something. And until your audience sees that, they're not going to trust you. So they didn't say F Flash, they said F DC Films. I'm pretty much a general audience, especially when it comes to DC movies, and I enjoyed The Flash. Most of the people I did, like I said, everybody had their opinion about it, but the majority of the people that I saw it with and that I surveyed, the general audience loves Spider-Man. But here's the thing. That's a brand name that's been handled correctly. Even if you disagree, if you don't like Spider-Man 3 or you thought Amazing Spider-Man 2 was bad, there's been frequency. They've handled, whether it be animation or live action, you've gotten, when you got Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, you got 3 movies. Even Amazing Spider-Man, even any Andrew Garfield. Guess what? Now that you have Spider-Man No Way Home, you at least have some closure with that Spider-Man. And with Tom Holland, you have beginning, middle, end. Even though you have more movies coming from him, you have not been left with wanting for Spider-Man stuff. They've kept it coming, and for the most part, they've kept it good. That's not been the case. Once again, Spider-Man is the symbol of Marvel Comics, and look how frequently they've used him since 2002. Superman was the first superhero ever made. And has been on the screen going on 6 years. So the general audience should love Spider-Man because of the way he's been handled. William Thornton, James Gunn confirmed Batman will be Bruce Wayne and not the actor. Yeah, I think that all your Batman are going to be Bruce Wayne no matter who's doing them. I don't think people are going to take that risk. That's why I don't think you're going to see a Batman Beyond live action anytime soon. Haha, most of the folks in my theaters gave 2 Fs or didn't know about Ezra's past behavior. We all went to watch the movie. Yeah, and like I said, maybe some of these guys watched it in a different. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt, but I just didn't get, as we were promoting the film, I just didn't get, that being an issue. There were other things that were an issue. Like when I left the Flash and checked my chat, checked my email, I got so many questions on what is what. Questions that if you're handling your IPs, you shouldn't have to ask. The Flash was definitely one of my favorite comic book movies. It's far from perfect, to be fair. Yeah, and there hasn't been. Ain't too many comic book movies out there. I don't go to comic book movies looking for perfection. I'm trying to have fun. Okay, but once again, and I'm not making fun of you, Jeebus, and this is not towards you. This mentality right here, especially at the corporate level prior, is part of the problem. This wasn't just a Flash thing. This is a DC brand thing. If the DC brand was strong coming into the Flash, you're in a different world. When we now have 3 consecutive movies that have underperformed, Shazam's going to lose money. This isn't just a Flash thing. And you'll see this going forward because, like I said, I hope Blue Beetle does well. It's a cheap movie, so it only has to make, I think its budget got adjusted to $125 million. You should be able to at least make that. I don't think they're spending any money on marketing it. But there's a good chance that it would be caught up in the same maelstrom as the other 3 movies. I think Aquaman's going to take a hit. You might just want to put that one straight to Max and get the MILF magnets, give them what they want. So this isn't a Flash thing. And I think it's a huge mistake to think that the box office results for the Flash are just a Flash thing. This is a credibility thing. This is a brand thing. This is a bad management thing. This is the new managers who I think are way better than their predecessors have made some missteps. and I think they've made some costly missteps. So, you know what? It's Oliver Stone's opinion. I liked all four John Wick movies. So, and also the Flash movie feels like it was more common with Justice League. I don't know what film you were watching for. Barry wasn't as dumb in the Snyder version. We never really got to, you know, the movie wasn't all about him, and that Barry in the Flash wasn't dumb. His younger self was an idiot, but he wasn't. No, I saw no connection to the Whedon version, but that's subjective. I saw John Wick on the plane. Once again, when it comes to another director's opinion about a movie, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people that don't like Oliver Stone's movies, and he's an Academy Award winner. Fourth, I hope you get to see The Flash on Max when it comes out. I think aside from CGI, you may find something worthwhile to take away from it. Once again, if I see Kevin Spacey on my screen, then there's no way in hell Ezra Miller's done. Or Armie Hammer. If I see Armie Hammer making a comeback, which Armie Hammer will eventually come back, then there's nobody's done. When it comes to these celebrities, like I said, R. Kelly didn't stop doing what he was doing. And eventually got arrested. I mean, but he was selling albums, millions and millions and millions, and selling out concerts. And, had he had stopped, maybe he'd still be out in the open, still selling all those concerts. You never underestimate how much the consumer just doesn't care about what you think they should care about when it comes to these people. How you doing, Alastair? This part I do agree with, Fourth. I do agree with. I love the Snyder verse so much. Watching the Flash feels like it only dredges up old building to unbuilt. That is unbuilt desires. That is. I can't agree with you more there. It will be cool if we care, but entertainment is a higher priority than justice. Well, Listen, people deal with real life stuff in their real life. They have the right not to care about it when it's an outlet that they're supposed to be able to let all that go. Let's see. I'm doing okay. Just man, it's only Tuesday. Jeez. I'm not the biggest fan of some of Roland Emmerich Slater stuff, but that guy ain't hurting for jobs either. Let's see. Well, once again, here's the thing, and sometimes this is good, sometimes this is bad for it. They didn't base whether they wanted to go forward with Peacemaker based on the movie that he was just in. They based it on what they thought what was decent, and it ended up being a decent story. So they didn't, he was always in the pipeline. They greenlit Peacemaker before they knew how Suicide Squad would do, but they didn't pull the plug on Peacemaker because Suicide Squad bombed. Sometimes there is more to it, South Bay, South Bay Lakers. Inland Empire in the house. Riverside Corona. Oh, Fourth is from there too, and I grew up there, so here we go. If you love Batman, Machete needs to go. I can't count how many times people bring up how horrible the scene of the bridge looks, how awkward the Batman's face looks. This is the first time hearing about that, but once again, not saying that it's not true, but Muschietti he's got a good track record. I think he'll be fine. I saw it, and what is this? Is PSC Scorpion King? And you know what? That is. I keep hearing Scorpion King. I remember the Scorpion King with that whole wink. That was bad. I noticed that because that was one step up from Harryhausen claymation. This was nowhere. That was noticeably bad, but not. Those cameos are the worst. They need to do interactive cameos, not just characters from the past. Post era cameos. Keaton was part of the story. I can't disagree there, but that was a narrative decision. I mean, I would like to have seen that later on and more fleshed out, but I don't know if I wanted to dominate this particular movie. It would have been cool to see a Christopher Reeve cameo. I mean, even though a lot of people were like up in arms over using him, and I don't see why, but I don't know. I feel like drawing CGI wasn't the biggest detriment to the film, not earning enough money. I think lack of general audience marketing and Spider-Verse competition were factors. That could be a factor. I don't. But Spider-Verse is up in there, 400, 500 million. But once again, all these things that you guys are bringing up, I'm not going to deny that those weren't factors. What I believe, those weren't the dominant factor. I think the dominant factor is brand damage and brand trust. All those things you guys were bringing up, whether it be CGI, whether it be a little bit of Ezra, a little bit of this, I think those may have been small factors or, somewhat considerable factors, but were it not for the damage of the DC brand and the fact that you can't trust them to finish something, and you're literally in the middle of them pulling the rug out from under you, that to me, in my opinion, is the dominant factor of not only why The Flash underperformed, but why Shazam underperformed, and plus the fact that everybody knows who the Flash is, but it's not Superman, it's not Batman. But even still, you've done just too much damage to expect people to pull the plane up out of that tailspin with one movie. And I don't think it's gonna happen with the next couple of movies. I think this brand damage is going to carry over, and you're going to see not a dismal performance at the box office of Superman Legacy, but you're not going to see, if I'm Warner Brothers Discovery, I set my expectations for that super low, and you take that one in the balls, and you continue. You let everybody know that we'll make whatever small adjustments we need to, but Superman Legacy 2, or hopefully they come up with a better name. I think people are using the word Legacy too many times, but you let them know that we're building something here. We're competent in our position. We're competent in our vision. We're going to go forward. Hey, we wish the other one could have made 700-800 million, but we're satisfied with what we make. We're going forward. You green light that. Approach it with some strength in your voice, and a lot of people will have confidence going forward. So you're probably not going to see the effects of if they are able to restore the brand until later on in James Gunn's run. Now, keep in mind, stockholders, shareholders, and investors, and financiers may not want to wait that long. So there's your risk. Thought on Tom Cruise says, I'll always fight big theaters, kind of experience. That's fine, and I understand where he's coming from. All of Tom Cruise's movies are coming in an area where that is the primary option. But now, like I said, we're moving to a point where the financial viability of a family of 4, which is your average family size, going to a theater is expensive, and you're going to have to make some decisions. You're going to have to make some decisions between, 2 movies or 3 movies that you really want to see, but you can only afford to take the family to one, and the rest of them is going to have to work on streaming. That's just the reality of the time. The Flash was a project from the Armada dreams or moderate flopped. I mean, I'm not a big fan of Hamada's work in DC. I'm, a fan of his stuff that he did otherwise, and I don't have anything personal against him. But I don't think it was. It's just a mess. It's just a mess that a lot of the people that were involved in it were gone. However, a lot of some of the decision makings immediately as a new regime took over, I think, are contributing factors as well. Hey, dude, I tried to watch The Idol. I got through the first episode and I got 15 minutes into the next one. It just didn't grab me. It reminded me of how I felt when I watched Euphoria, and I just turned it off. I'm not saying it's bad quality. It just didn't put my mind in the right place to be entertained. So Barbie, after what, 1 billion years of being a household name that even dudes who don't play with dolls know, should have, but it's got to probably have longer legs than most of the things that get released this summer. I mean, the only thing I see, you got Mission Impossible, which looks like it's going to be absolutely exquisite. It's going to destroy Oppenheimer. And Oppenheimer's probably going to be a better movie, in my opinion. I think it's going to destroy Indiana Jones. I think Indiana Jones is going to make a good chunk of change. I think Barbie is part of the American fabric. It just is. I mean, you don't have to. You don't really need to. They've been marketing Barbie for 50 years. You have fun, Vince. I have no desire to see. All right, the CG cameos are kind of offensive. It's the last time you see the characters that are bad. Listen, did I want more from those cameos? Oh, yes. Yes. And I will agree with you guys. I wish they would have done better with the cameos. I'm glad I got what I got, but yeah, I mean, if I had it all, if it were me, dude, if it were me, listen. I told you guys, I'm eating a French fry, sorry. I've told you guys over and over again, when it comes to using all things that exist in DC, I think DC has committed a crime in not exploring these things. And you could say the Flash's cameos are an extension of that. But I would have done this. For me, if I was writing a Man of Steel, one of the sequels, if I did do a Man of Steel 2 or 3, one of the things I've always envisioned in my head for years is Superman, deciding, hey, he wants to hang it up because he doesn't think the world needs a Superman. And this is something I've drawn out, to where Superman is saving somewhere, but he's supposed to be at a place where Superman is meeting with kids and families and signing autographs as part of a thing to uplift his image. And I've always had this vision of he couldn't make it. He couldn't make it. He flies in late, but he sees all these Supermen. Kind of like you did in Cameo, but not just, blurred images and moving real fast in a cycle. You see all these Superman walking out, changing back into their Clark Kent personas and leaving. And he looks around and he sees one in particular, and it's Christopher Reeve. And they instantly recognize each other as Superman. But Christopher Reeves is literally putting on his costume. He's leaving. He's like, hey, we got your back. We took care of it. And they start talking about, what, I think the world doesn't need a Superman. I think I've done more, problems good, everything that's gone on in BVS, all these things. And Christopher Reeves tells him, I've seen a lot of different worlds, and every one of them needed a Superman. That would have been a cool moment to have in a Superman movie. But yeah, I thought they could have done more with the cameos. I didn't think they were offensive. I think they could have done more. I agree with that. Yeah, Barbie's gonna win. Yeah, pass. My problem with Blue Beetle is the existence of Blue Beetle in movies like Shazam. Some of these movies are why I think DC is where it is. If you had carried out with your big guns and then gave me these characters, I'd be more enthusiastic about seeing them. But I'm just like, yeah, I'll see you in 30 days. Yeah, it's like 90 to 125 million. Blue Beetle, I think, will make its money back. I don't think it'll be a huge hit, but who knows? I mean, it could catch fire. And if it does so, it's gonna do so on things that are not having anything to do with DC. People are gonna see, George Lopez. A lot of people like George Lopez. A lot of people like the kid from Cobra Kai. So there you go. But a lot of people like Keaton too. So yeah, dude, it's just Lily Rose in The Weeknd in an adult drama where she plays a pop star whose life is taken over by The Weeknd, who plays a Leto type cult member. I hear good things about it, and like I said, I just was not entertained. Wow. Especially that first episode. Man, what the fuck? There you go. I didn't even know that fourth, but now you could clearly tell that that's his signature. Yeah, it's on HBO. Craven the White Panther, dude. I don't care, dude. What? You only needed to show, dude. He bit a guy's nose off in the Red Band trailer and spit it at you, and there's a lot of blood in that Red Band trailer. I hope they're not showing me all the gore that's in that movie in those trailers because it looks fun. I can't wait for this movie to come out. I'm gonna have a lot of fun with this movie. And I'll probably send some people to the theaters to see this movie. I just won't be there. All right, William thought on Quentin Tarantino's got the final movie. The movie critic as Travis Bickle. If you're still I haven't seen the movie critic. No, because Marvel has credibility. See, when you've done things right and people believe in your product, you get the benefit of the doubt, even if you screw up. Even if you release a mediocre, does anybody think that Marvel's never going to release a blockbuster again? No. They have the credibility to do so. Marvel's about to go through a situation with Secret Wars where they're probably going to reset a lot of the aspects of their universe. That's going to be a spaghetti mess. But you know why they can do that? Because they have credibility. They have given you everything of the characters that you could have asked for. You did not leave the table starving for Captain America. You may have wanted more, but you got enough. You did not leave the buffet wanting for Iron Man and Robert Downey Jr.'s character. You may have wanted more, but you got a lot. Everything that they've started with, they have run their course with it to the point where they have had satisfactory resolutions to the majority of the things that they rolled out with. And when you do that, you gain the benefit of the doubt. You gain credibility. You now have the credibility to reset aspects of your universe. DC does not. In order to do that kind of resetting, rebooting, whatever the hell you want to call it, you have, and for it to work, you can do whatever you want. But for it to not be what we're going through now and what we'll probably be going through for the beginning half of his slate, you have to have credibility, and they don't. That's the problem. No doubt that James Gunn can write a great story. No doubt that Muschietti, in my opinion, can write a great story or do a great screenplay or deliver as far as the quality goes. But is anybody going to care? That's the thing. And if you don't believe that there's going to be continuity in whatever you're about to jump into, a lot of people are just going to stay away. And that's unfortunate because I think a lot of good movies have been thrown into the wood chipper because of this whole situation. Well, Sasha Kai said she met with Peter Safran about the future of Supergirl. I felt like my whole life was preparing me for this role in this way. I think you're going to see more of her one way or another. I ignore the reviews. A lot of people are hating it for ideological reasons. Mostly young 20-year-olds who hate the nudity and the behind-the-scenes drama. There's definitely a lot of nudity in it. Poor Johnny Depp. That's why. Hey, listen. I'm going to have kids. I know I'm getting up there. I am going to have kids. You know, my family I come from a long list of both sides of my families living long lives. So I can have a kid. I can watch them grow up, be 18, 19, 20, 25. I couldn't have a daughter in acting and have her in this movie. I wouldn't be able to watch. I was like, wow. I mean, how's Johnny Depp? Just watch. But he's an artist. He understands, but it's just weird. She's like naked, like the first 5 minutes. Bam. There she goes. Yes, I will. That's fine. They're going to, so that's never been an issue. Once again, you guys bring up Guardians of the Galaxy. Guardians of the Galaxy is not a hit without the MCU. Exactly what I just said, Jeebus, is why. Credibility. By the time, what was Guardians' 9th or 10th movie in the franchise? You realize where MCU and Marvel was at that point? They had gained the credibility. They had followed through on enough of what they were doing to where they could have given you anything at that point, and people were going to eat it up because they had earned the benefit of the doubt. Guardians of the Galaxy didn't have to be anything. All you really needed to know was this was the next thing that they were doing. If you had seen the movies that Marvel had put out up to the point where Guardians of the Galaxy was all you needed to know was this one was next. And you already had a foundation right there for a fan base. Now, if you put out Guardians of the Galaxy as the first movie or the only movie as a standalone without the previous movies, without Iron Man, without Thor, without Captain America, without Avengers, you're in trouble. Somebody's going to get fired. In fact, no, nobody gets fired because that movie never gets made. Credibility and trust. That is how Guardians of the Galaxy was even allowed to be made. That is how it did well. Yes, it was a great movie. But you know what? Being a great movie is not enough, because I've seen both comic book and otherwise movies that are great movies that have bombed. All right, the situation that you release your movie in is as much a part of its success as the quality of the movie. Because there's been some crap movies that have made a ton of money, and there's been some really great ones, a lot of great ones that didn't. So the situation that Marvel was in when Guardians of the Galaxy released was just as much as part of its success, because it doesn't even get a chance. It doesn't even get a chance without that ramp up. And that is what everything that Guardians of the Galaxy had going into it is everything DC did not have going into these movies. Maybe, I don't know. Right now, I'm disengaging to the point where I'm not getting into fights over it. I didn't do that much anyway. I'm not really emotionally invested in it right now until I see something to invest in. Right now, you're just like in a state of limbo. And it is over for a while because, like I said, we got 3 years till the next movie from this thing comes out. And depending on how it does, who knows how much longer it'll take to get anything else. So, like I always say when it comes to DC, I'm still watching. I'm just not at the arena with my sign. I'm watching from the safety, of my own home, mentally and physically. I'm keeping it at arm's length until I see something to get closer with. And if I see a trailer for Superman and it looks good, maybe I'll jump. It's like I saw Kraven. I didn't know how to feel about Kraven until I saw that trailer. Now I'm all in. So I am not going to do any hashtags or any of that stuff. I'm just going to disengage for a little bit and take it as it comes. I don't think that's good for DC films, though, because that you're losing that steam, you're losing that momentum, you're losing that brand name recognition, you're losing that brand name choice. We're sitting around for 2.5 years wondering what's next and wondering if it's going to continue after a certain time. That's just not the kind of energy you want. Aquaman was a joke and he talks to fish, but once again, there's a lot of factors you're leaving out there. A, MILF magnet, running around without a shirt off. And B, Aquaman had already been introduced. Who do you think cast Aquaman? Aquaman he had a cameo on BVS, and then he's literally one of the major parts. Even that horrid Justice League that was released, that still put him out there. People got to see Jason Momoa as Aquaman. And even in Justice League, he was one of the better things about it. And for a lot of the people who weren't, behind the scenes and watching what was unraveling, didn't know about that stuff, they went and watched it on DVD, Blu-ray, and all that, because you didn't have Max then. So even though the movie that he was in wasn't that great, it's kind of like it's going to be like the same thing with Sasha Calle. People still connected with Aquaman. And they were in that trajectory of movies. Same thing for Wonder Woman. There were cumulative effects of certain things that were done right, certain things, not so right. But I don't think if you released Aquaman now, I don't think Aquaman would make $1 billion. Especially without China. And that's another factor. Is I think Aquaman made the majority of its money in China. And not every movie is getting released in China. China's closing the doors a lot. How much do you feel Gunn, Safran, and Zaslav should get for announcing reboot? A lot. I think they should get a lot. I think they should get significant heat for even doing something like this. And I think that Abney and DeLuca, if this was what you were going to do, then I think you should have taken whatever you had left and used that to transition into whatever you guys were going to do next. Whatever James Gunn had shown you he wanted to do, yeah, that's great. All right, Pam, Paul, or let's get this. This is what he's going to do. This is what you got left. I need you guys to sit down around the coffee table, and I need you to work this out so that your new thing, James Gunn, gets off the runway quick with momentum. And you're this thing we got these movies we want to release, and we give these things a credible ending as we're serving both purposes. That's what really should have happened. There should have been a transition. There shouldn't be a reset or a reboot. There should have been a transition. If you wanted to end the prior iterations of these characters, you needed to do it a lot better than they ended up doing it. Even if you had to have James Gunn come in and read, and not what he ended up doing with the Flash, but re-engineer things to where, it doesn't seem like you're wasting 4 movies. You could have made a better case that we got something new going. We're going to transition, but these movies are very important to the next one, or don't even release them. But they had better options. They chose their ones they chose. So. Yeah, I mean, the situation the MCU was in is not the situation that DC is. It's the exact same. It's the exact opposite. I'm broadcasting on both pages. I'm broadcasting on the Sci-Fi Center page and the Poindexter page. No, I have not seen Extraction 2. I don't know when I'm going to see that. I heard it's great though. All right, I've been doing good. Recently straightened up my Ninja Turtles watch order after combining a friend's suggestion based on the continuity article from the franchise. Yeah, we got another one of those coming out. Emmerich is hurting for hurting. He had the crowdfund his last movie. Didn't he do Ambulance? Or that Michael Bay? Let's see. But I don't think you can compare these other directors that you're comparing him to, or Fourth was comparing it to. Roland Emmerich. What was his last movie? Because after Independence Day Resurgence, it's. Ugh. Yeah, he did Moonfall. Moonfall was. But see, I still got stickers from him. Moonfall was horrible. Death, Conquistador. Ooh, 150 million for that one. Let's see what he's doing now. So his last movie was in 2022. He did Midway. He did Independence Day Resurgence, Stonewall, White House Down. That movie made money. 2012 Anonymous. Day After Tomorrow. See, wow, from 2004 to 2020, he really hasn't done that kind of movie. But you really can't compare Muschietti or Denis Villeneuve or anybody to the kind of movies he makes, though. I mean, it's not the same conversation. Now, what did he crowdfund? Moonfall wasn't crowdfunded, was it? Moonfall was his last movie. Was Moonfall I mean, if he crowdfunded, he got 150 in crowdfunding. Dude, he needs to come work for me. Shit. Let's see. All right, and May 19th, he got 40 million from the Hawaii brothers. I hope I'm not pronouncing that wrong. 15 million from Lionsgate Films and 15 million from Germany. One of those. So, he got money from financiers on this one. I'm not. Let me know what you're talking about, Jeebus. Maybe I'm looking at the wrong Emmerich. William Keaton, Batman for Beyond, your favorite iteration of the character now. Although I think they were going to try to do that with Batgirl, and I think that would have just pissed people off. The 8 people that watched Batman and Beyond would have been up in arms. I think they actually got worse as a team because in order to get any depth, they're going to have to trade Ayton, and he's the only rim protector they have. He's the only primary rebounder they have, and they don't have any defense. Man, their only hope is to score like 150 points a game, and they don't have any depth. So, you know what? Going for that big 3 model again. Dante, I didn't watch because I'm not excited about the movie. I could care less about the actor being crazy. Then that's another option. That's one of the consumer options right there. Via the games on Cowabunga, Shred. Oh, you're talking about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That movie looks like I'm not a big TMT fan, but I am gonna go see this movie. Do you think Spider-Verse will take the number one spot this weekend at the box office? I don't think it did. I think Flash actually did. I'm not sure. I got to look. I think everybody's individual negative factors played a role into forming the Megazord of failure Flash turned out to be. To a certain extent, yes, but I really do think that we have enough information now over several films that it's more than just about any one movie. Black Adam wasn't the worst movie in the world, but people, you know, how you feel about DC is probably a large part of how that movie was. Plus that it's Black Adam, and Shazam's the same thing. But once again, back to the example of Guardians of the Galaxy, you can put out a C character that nobody knows if you have the momentum to do so. They did not. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up because this is actually supposed to be a short stream. Sorry if I don't get to everybody's questions, but I've actually gone an hour and 23 minutes, which is defeating the purpose of a Midnight Express because I do need to go watch Secret Invasion. I think that's on right now. And yeah, I mean, it was a machine. It was a machine. Yep, hit the like button. Hit the like. Oh, by the way, guys, if you haven't had a chance, Saturday we did a stream, which I actually thought was one of our better streams, but because we did some stuff from Tadum, which was the Netflix thing that we were told that they wanted us to spread it on our platforms. They didn't give us a copyright strike, but they gave us a copyright claim and they took it down. So if you go and I'm going to go ahead and put those two parts into the actually, well, you just go to you can go to the Point Action Lounge because it's on a different screen right now. We uploaded those into two parts because we can only upload 2 hours at a time. So part 1 and part 2 from Saturday night's overnight stream is on both the Sci-Fi Center's site, Sci-Fi Center's YouTube tab, and the Point Action Lounge as well. I was really, really, really aggravated that they took that down because, like I said, I thought we covered a lot during that stream. I think we covered a lot of people's bit different points of views in that stream. We had guests. I mean, it was a nice stream, and to have it taken down for something that we were told that we would be fine with kind of pissed me off. So I was glad I was able to get it back up. I hope you guys get a chance to watch that, even though it's a few days late. So, all right, yes, I do have to eat. One of the main reasons Marvel Studios is we got about 5 more minutes. 5 more minutes, we'll do it. One of the main reasons Marvel Studios is not rushing the Fantastic Four X-Men is because they know how badly Fox screwed up those characters. Why do you think they're taking their time? And you know what? They didn't. Well, Fantastic Four, yeah. But X-Men, dude, Days of Future Past is still one of my favorite movies. Yeah, I heard it's been mixed. I heard critics didn't like it, but you know how I feel about critics. Some of the people who I watched and that are along the lines of my same sensibilities, they've liked it. And Wonder Meg, she put out a review for it. So I'm gonna watch. I've been waiting. I loved Secret Invasion storyline from back in the day. That was one of my favorite storylines to sell. I love the covers that came out for it, and I've been looking for this for years now. So I'm happy to see it. The Flash was in Justice League, but he wasn't a dude. When you watch the Justice League, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, yes, the Flash and Aquaman, they're there, but when they're all on the screen at the same time, the Trinity. That's why they call them the Trinity. I mean, and the Flash was in Justice League, but even if let's say they had released the good version, a 2-hour version of Zack Snyder's one, right? It's 2023, man. It's been 6 years. We're coming up on 6 years since that movie was released. Even if the movie was great and well received, you can't go 6 years without that character. Same thing's one of the reasons that Aquaman is going to suffer. Aquaman was released in what, 2018? 2018, 2019? I mean, 4 or 5 years, you can't do that. Every one of their major characters, they've gone extended amounts of time without getting them on the screen. And while they're not getting them on the screen, you're getting bullshit like the emancipation of what the hell? We're getting the C and the B level characters. We're getting Polka Dot Man. We're going 4, 5, and 6 years between these movies, but in between, we're getting these other things. That's the problem. Did Ambulance lose money? I don't know if you can. Big Bay is going to be like a cockroach. I don't know if you can kill that guy. I've heard the death of his career so many times. Let's see. Universal, Six Underground. I didn't like his latter Transformers movies, by the way. That's why I was skeptical about Transformers Rise of the Beast. Okay, it only cost $40 million. Wow, a Michael Bay movie only cost $40 million. Granted, it only made 52, but it didn't. And I know they didn't spend. Dude, how did they make that movie so cheap? Yeah, Jake Gyllenhaal in it. Yahya Abdul-Mateen, who's on the rise. Nah, but at that point, you had a bunch of those are your two top stars. But yeah, it's only a $40 million movie. It made $52 million at the box office. I mean, it wasn't like Shazam bomb, but it didn't do great either. The Bat Blade. That face. Here's what should have happened. The Flash should have been released after Aquaman 2. Into the Flash with the Justice League. Congratulate Barry. Superman raises his daughter. Batman find the peace. I mean, that would have met them resolving something. And I have a bunch of different ways you could have ended. But like I said, the biggest thing, and once again, I'm not a big let's bring back everything. Zack Snyder, let's do 2 movies, 10 this, 10 that. Superman, Man of Steel 1, 2, 3, and Justice League 2, 3. I don't need all that. What I would have liked to see from a business standpoint is the resolution, a credible resolution that seamlessly integrates into what you want me to buy next. I think that would have gone a long way. You're always going to have the people who are only going to want Cavill, Superman, and all this other stuff. But to be honest with you, those aren't the vast majority of people. Those are the fringe elements. The majority of people will just want completion. All right. Yeah, I saw that, but when you go through it, it's not 8 hours. I saw that. There must be a recent change. It used to be 12 hours and 2. Yeah. It's a recent change. All right, guys. That's it for me. I got to get I got to eat. Then I got to go watch Secret Invasion, and I need to get to bed because I got, it's Wednesday. So thank you, everybody, for contributing to the conversation, whether we agreed 100% or not. I am never going to be the type of YouTube person that does not welcome you just because we don't 100% agree. That is, I would just sit in a room all by myself without the internet if I want to do that. So thank you guys for providing the best part of this internet experience, and thank you for doing it in a civil tone. Especially in the chat room. I've been in other places lately where the chat room has gone completely crazy, and they've made it to the point where you cannot have a conversation because so many people are going at each other disrespectfully in the chat. I like to think that you guys, especially this group of people that joins me on a regular basis at this time of night, have done us a service by being able to express your opinion without destroying, anybody else in the chat room. So I commend you for that. And have a good night, guys. And I will probably be back on tomorrow night, but I might take a night off just so I can finalize my setup. So next time you guys see me, it's not just an avatar, and it's my new setup. So, all right, guys. You guys have a nice evening. Stay safe.